Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to another Red Dragon Ing unboxing. This is for one of the Allies boxes. This is for Spyke and Flower from the world of Munchkin. Two alternate reality characters shamelessly pilfered from the world of Munchkin, i.e. legally contracted. Yeah, so this is kind of a neat one because there are other dual box sets which had other characters. This one, though, can actually be played as a standalone game because it does come with two characters who can play against each other, a drink deck, and then it also actually comes with a third automated character, which is a nice, it's a neat way to get this, because you might normally be like, I don't really know if I want these characters, I don't know if they fit the theming of the rest of the Red Dragon Ing, type of thing. Actually, they fit in fairly well for what the idea is. But yeah, having the auto character, which we'll get to, it's really neat. As for, so you can play up to 3 players. And we'll jump in and see what we got here. So, if you're not familiar with what Munchkin's in, it's a spoofy kind of dungeon crawling game. Which this Red Dragon is supposed to be like dungeon crawler warriors and stuff after their dungeon crawling. So you have Spyke here, a human Munchkin. But yeah, so what Munchkin is that they have lots of humor in their games, and you're gonna see that in these cards. But they also have, the idea is they go into dungeons, they kick down doors, they fight monsters, they equip items. This does utilize a shared treasure deck between the two characters. It gives them different extra items. It's kind of like their third deck. A lot of these characters have an extra deck as well. So we're gonna get all of our coins and our fortitude and health counters. We're also going to get one of the Munchkin bookmarks. So a lot of Munchkin products have bookmarks. This is Bookmark of Drunken Celebration, which have special rules for the Munchkin game on there. And there's also a Munchkin version of Red Dragon Ing, so you can bring some of the characters from this into Munchkin, which is really fun. We're going to get the 2-player cards, or 3-player cards, rather, if I can get them out of this plastic. So we'll get Flower, and then they started doing these after set 5, so it just re-specifies if they have special rules, so it's just get a treasure, then they do their discard, draw, action, order a drink. They have their deck, draw, drink me, but then they have slots for their different gear. They can hold 1 foot gear, 1 head gear, 1 set of armor, and 2 sets of hands worth of items. This is just like how the Munchkin game plays. They get various items which boost their levels, and then their levels let them be stronger. So we got Flower here, who is the iconic female for Munchkin. Then we have Spyke, who's the iconic male. And then the third character card we have here is Otto, who's a special AI companion. So he has 2 different counters, 1 for each player, and we'll go over more of that when we get into his deck and all that. We, of course, are going to get the dividers for in the box. If you have one of the bigger boxes, such as set 5 again, you'll get the dividers, which will let you sort out your different cards. We're going to get one for Otto as well, and they have a little M up in the top corner, signifies from the Munchkin set, as opposed to the rest of the Allies having A for the Allies set, and I think it's just to keep them a little bit separate. We have a drink deck, and then we have a treasure deck. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I got an extra drink deck card in here. And it just accidentally got slipped in there. And then we have some 5 gold pieces, which I started adding in some of the later sets, just because you start getting a lot of gold in some of these games. Alright, that's the basis of those components. There, of course, is an instruction manual which explains how to play the game in full, because you can sit down and play this, or add it with any other set, and it's going to go through all the rules, which I am not going through in this video. Check out my Red Dragon Ing 1 for that. And it goes through, also explains each character's each character. Well, this one doesn't actually explain how each character works, since each character, their shared thing that they do is the treasure deck. So it explains how they're treasures, and that's kind of how they both work. They work essentially the same, just with different abilities. And then there's a big part on how auto works, which again, we'll go over that when we get there. Let's jump into the characters and then start looking at that. So we'll start with Spyke. So there is Spyke's card, or his divider. And if we flip it over, it's going to have the rules on here. So yeah, both these players, usually you have two different decks. Any of the other ally sets that have multiple characters, they both play, they might have a common link, but they usually play fairly differently. These two characters are going to play essentially the same, just, one does something one way, one does it a little bit the other way, but overall, the overall theming is the same as these treasure deck. Which there's our treasure cards. And, since I haven't shown you off, there's Flower, who's a human Munchkin. So you set the treasure deck up, place it where both Spyke and Flower can reach it. Beginning of your turn, when a card tells you to get a treasure, reveal the treasure and equip it to the appropriate slot. If you already have a treasure equipped there, choose one you want to keep. So if you already have a headgear, you can either choose to keep your existing headgear or change it to the new one. Special treasures don't take up any slots. You can have as many as you like. So one thing that does make this different, though, in case you are from like the regular Munchkin game, is you can't have extra items sitting around to swap in between combats. You get one headgear, one footgear, one armor, 2 hand slots. That's it. You can't have an extra backup one sitting around. The level is the sum of all the numbers in the bottom of your equipment. And there's various cards in there they'll get. So as an example of that, so like we have this boomstick here, which is a 2-handed treasure with a level 0. Some will be 4, 3, 2, and those numbers add up to give your character a level, which will affect things on their card. And some treasures have subtypes: action, sometimes, anytime, or cheating. These may be played as though they are the card in your hand. So that's basically how those work. And then Flower is going to say the same thing on the back. So I won't have to reread it when we get to her. Alright, what's Spyke do? Well, first of all, he's going to have lots of the same cards that every other character has. 3, 4, 5. So he has, but they're all going to have Munchkin artwork. So he has Gambling, I'm in. If you're familiar with any of the other Red Dragon Inn sets, everybody has these cards, usually 5 to 6, depending on the character. He has 6. It's an action, does gambling. Start of a round of gambling. Each player, including you, must ante or take control of a round of gambling. 2 copies of I Raise. Take control of a round of gambling. Each player, including you, must ante. 2 copies of Winning Hand. Take control of a round of gambling. The next card you control must be a cheating card. I don't think so. Negate a sometimes card. This card can only be affected by another I don't think so. You can tip the wench. Pick a player, they pay 1 gold to the end. 2 copies of Wench. Bring some drinks for my friends. You may play this card during your order a drink phase of your turn. Pay 1 gold to the inn. Order 2 additional drinks. And then finally, the Wench thinks you should stop playing with the drinks. Negate a sometimes card that changes the effects of a drink. This includes cards negate, ignore, split drinks, pass drinks, or other players, or alter the drink's effects. It can only be affected by I don't think so. So those are the cards that pretty much every single character has. Some of them might be named a little bit differently, but they generally have the same effect. So that's just kind of like your standard card deck. Then we get into the character-specific ones. Now, Spyke and Flower do have a few that overlap. Again, maybe they have slightly different names, but they do have some different cards. So we have Yoink. Pick a player, they pay you 1 gold. So a lot of characters have a card that does this as well. So I mean, a lot of these cards effects are repeated from characters to characters. There's only so much gameplay space. Loot for sale or barter. Discard up to 2 of your equipped treasures. For each treasure discard this way, pick 1. Gain 2 fortitude, or gain 1 gold from the ing. You got 2 copies of I'll Get You Next Time. You may play this card immediately after you lose fortitude from a card played by another player. You may not play this card if you reduce the fortitude card. Get a treasure. Break glass for petty retribution. He has Here, Hold My Beer. Split a drink you are about to drink with another player. If you are level 9, give the drink to that player instead. So it's kind of a neat thing. So if you get up to level 9, this card becomes better. He has 2 copies of I Spike My Own Drinks. Playing on 3 different puns here. Spiking meaning to like taint someone's drink or mess with it. Spike being his name. And spiking is what he is doing with the drink in the picture by throwing it on the ground. Reduce the alcohol content of a drink you are about to drink to 1. Reducing a drink's content below 0 reduces to 0 instead. If you're level 6, reduce it by 2 instead. If you're level 10, ignore the drink. Ooh, 2 for 1. Reveal 2 treasures from the treasure deck. You may equip 1 of them, discard the other. If you reveal 1 or more curses this way, resolve each of them in order revealed before equipping any revealed treasure. So curses are a bad thing that can happen to you, which we'll get to those when we get to the treasure deck. Smoke Screen. You may play this card when an action, sometimes or anytime card would make you lose fortitude. Reduce it by 1. Level 6, ignore that card instead. 2 copies of Treasure Fort. Ignore an action, sometimes or anytime card that affects your fortitude, alcohol content, or gold. You may not use this to ignore a round of gambling. Discard 1 of your equipped treasures if you have one, then get a treasure. 2 copies of Accidental Caltrops. I like that because they're gold and stuff that he's dropping. Pick another player, they lose 1 fortitude. Level 5, draw 1 card from your character deck. Level 9, pick your action phase. You may play another action this phase. Hey, come trigger this trap. Open this chest. Pick another player, they lose 1 fortitude and discard 1 card from their hand. Get a treasure. At level 7, they lose 2 fortitude and you discard 2 cards and discard 2 cards instead. You still get a treasure. Just as a fun callback to Munchkin as well as loaded die. So almost every single version of loaded die, whether it's the base one or it's a themed version or what, has the loaded die card. Because they encourage doing cheating stuff in that game as well. So it says take control of a round of gambling. Usually the loaded die lets you, in regular Munchkin, lets you just change the die to whatever side you want. So basically you can win whatever you're rolling against. And this is sort of the same idea. Just, hey, you win. We have 2 copies of Look What I Found. Ignore a drink, get a treasure. We have We're Honest Adventurers. Take control of a round of gambling as he drops stuff out of his sleeves. Another callback to the game is Wishing Ring. Every set of Munchkin also has a Wishing Ring, which lets you negate curses, which is what this does. Negate a curse, or you may play this card when you must ante. Instead of anteing, you may leave the round of gambling. Basically, you get to ignore bad stuff. We have the Full Munchkin. Attach this card to 1 of your treasures, even when you're revealed. It is now a special. It doesn't take a treasure slot. Discard this card if you lose the attached treasure. So this is representing the card in the Munchkin game called Super Munchkin, which allows basically it's another cheat card that they have in the game, which lets you use multiple cards that you normally wouldn't be able to use together. So if you have like 2 class cards, it lets you play 2 classes together, or if you have like 2 different race cards, if you're in that game, you can have 2 different races at the same time. This is same idea here. It's there's also another card in there just called Cheat. This is kind of like that as well, where it lets you basically break the rules and have multiple equipment on that you wouldn't normally be able to wear, like 2 helmets, or multiple hands, or 2 different foot gear. That's a good callback to that. I don't know why they didn't just call it. I know why they didn't call it Super Munchkin, because Super Munchkin deals with races and classes, versus Cheat does stuff with the items, but it's a good callback to that. We got 2 copies of Kick Some Arsenal. Pick another player, they lose 1 Fortitude. If you're level 5, they lose 2 Fortitude instead. I think I'm going to run out of room on there. We have 2 copies of So Then I Got the Large Angry Chicken in a Headlock Like This. Pick another player, they lose 2 Fortitude. At level 9, they lose 3 Fortitude instead. Large Angry Chicken is one of the earlier monsters in the Munchkin game. And then, No Kill Like Overkill. Pick another player, they lose 1 Fortitude, get Treasure. Level 6, they lose 2 Fortitude instead, you still get a Treasure. And level 11, they lose 3 Fortitude, and you still get a Treasure. So they do a lot of stuff with, at least Spyke here. Reserve Flower does. But Spyke does a lot of stuff where he gets rid of people's Fortitude. He does damage. Less of stuff about the drinking. Like, there's one thing you can split a drink or ignore a drink, which is kind of something you need to be able to do. But he doesn't have a lot of stuff where he's reducing people's drink or alcohol content or adding his or anything like that. Then we have Flower. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have our 6 copies of Gambling I'm In. Our 2 copies of I Raise. A copy of Winning Hand. So I don't know why she doesn't get 2 copies of Winning Hand. She only gets 1. Unless it got mixed in somewhere else in the deck. I'm just trying to double check, because usually you get 2 copies. Nope, she gets 1. We have Tip the Wench, which you're seeing. 2 copies of Wench, Bring Some Drinks for My Friends. The Wench thinks you should stop playing with the drinks, and I don't think so. So again, those are the ones that almost everybody gets. Then her more signature cards are Magic Missile Launcher. You may play this card along with another card until that card resolves. Your level is 30. Oh boy, she gets a high level for that. Sorry, I just instinctively aim for the gold. Pick another player, they pay you 1 gold. Level 3, pick an additional player. Level 7, those players lose 1 Fortitude. So this is kind of neat, where Spyke had a lot of stuff that was, this does this, and then it does something bigger. Hers kind of is adding on. So it does one thing, then it adds to another effect, and it adds another effect. Instead of just getting a bigger regular, this one's adding on. I don't know if all our cards will be like that. We have another full Munchkin, which does the same as the other one. We also have, set bonus. Draw a card from your character deck. Level 6, draw 3 cards instead. She's got the Wishing Ring as well. What's that up your sleeve? Take control of the round of gambling. Pick another player, force them to leave the round of gambling. Look over there, it's Plutonium Dragon, one of the more famous Munchkin monsters. Take control of a round of gambling. We're Honest Adventurers. Take control of a round of gambling. I never cheat when I think I might get caught. Take control of a round of gambling, get treasure. So as you can see, where Spyke was more focused on doing attacks and dealing fortitude damage, Flower seems to have a lot more stuff with the gambling and getting around that, at least so far. We have 2 copies of I Have Potions for This Sort of Thing. Reduce the alcohol content of a drink you're about to drink by 1. At level 7, ignore that drink instead. 2 copies of Course I Can Drink with the Visor Down. Reduce all numeric effects of a drink you're about to drink by 1. Level 3, reduce them by 2 instead, and level 6, reduce them by 3 instead. 2 copies of Look What I Found. Ignore a drink, get a treasure. 2 copies of, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, but My Thaco is too good for you. I'm not even actually sure what that means. You may play this card when in action. Sometimes or anytime card would make you lose Fortitude. Reduce that Fortitude loss by 1. Level 6, ignore that card instead. Reckless Retreat. Ignore an action, sometimes or anytime card that affects your Fortitude, alcohol content, or gold. You may not use this to ignore wrong or gambling. Discard one of your equipped treasures if you have any. This is again a Munchkin callback. They have a lot of stuff where ducks are bad. There's specifically in the base game, there's a card called Duck of Doom, which is a curse, which basically makes you lose levels or die. I don't remember which. But it says never pick up a duck in a dungeon. And they kept playing on that theme over and over throughout all the Munchkin games. Hey everyone, how's my juggling? Each other player loses 1 Fortitude and pays 1 gold to the ing for damages. At level 5, they lose 2 Fortitude instead. At level 9, they each lose 3 Fortitude instead. And you still have to pay. Give me more coins, I've almost got it. Each other player pays you 1 gold, get treasure. Let me ask you a question. Pick another player, they lose 3 Fortitude. She's got 2 copies of the Kick Some Arsenal. Pick another player, they lose 1 Fortitude. Level 5, they lose 2 Fortitude instead. She's got 2 copies of, so then I got the Poultry Guys in a headlock like this. Pick another player, they lose 1 Fortitude. Level 5, they lose 3 Fortitude instead. Poltergeist is another monster, plus it plays on the opposite of Spyke's with him being the large angry chicken. And then, oops, I dropped my mace. You may play this card immediately after you lose Fortitude from a card played by another player. You may not play this if you reduce that Fortitude. That player loses 1 Fortitude. Level 4, they lose 2 instead. Level 10, they lose 3 instead. So I kind of like they have similar concepts, but then they have very different stuff as well, where Spyke has a lot more stuff with doing Fortitude, Fortitude damaging, and just trying to do the damaging and reduce damaging, and Flower has more stuff with the gambling. I was just seeing, their 2 cards are the same. I was just trying to see if they looked different. They do for some of the other ones, though, like, nope, iRaise is the same. Yep, they're the same ones. I thought maybe they were a little bit different. Alright, so that's how both of them play. Then we need to look at their treasure deck. Alright, so we're going to have a bunch of treasures in here. We're going to have Boomstick, a 2-handed sometimes. You may play this card along with another card until that card resolves your level is 6. So basically sacrifice something else to make this a level 6 item. The Swiss Army Polearm, 2-handed, gives you level 4. Chainsaw Bloody Dismemberment, 2-handed action. Pick another player, they lose 3 Fortitude. The Gauntlet of Gold Digging, 1-handed sometimes. You may play this card when you are about to lose gold. Gain 2 gold from the ing, you still lose that gold. Level 2, Short Sword of Sufficiency, just a 1-handed item that gets you 2. The Unnatural Axe, 1-handed action. Pick another player, they lose 2 Fortitude and a level 2. Rack on a Stick, 1-handed, plus level 1. The 2-handed sword, 1 hand. You may equip 2 additional hands worth of treasures, level 2. The Dwarven Elven Armor, half and half, armor, level 3. The Spudded Leather Armor, not studded, spudded. Those are potatoes and french fries on them. Time to card load. You may play this card along with another card. Until that card resolves, your level is +4, replacing this card's usual +2. Budget Armor, 1. Skull Cap, which is a level 1. We have Gimli's great-grandfather's helmet. Gimli is his great-grandfather's referenced a ton throughout the Red Dragon in-game, which is really fun. And apparently he has many different helmets or many different great-grandfathers. It's not quite clear. Ignore an action, sometimes or anytime card that affects your fortitude. Omni-Sight Goggles. Headgear. Negated cheating card. The player who played it may play another gambling or cheating card. The Boots of Butt Kicking. And some of these are like right from the game, like Boots of Butt Kicking, the Pole Arm, Swiss Army Pole Arm. Some of them are ones made up for this game. It's just kind of neat. They did a combination of the both. The Boots of Butt Kicking, Foot Gear with a level 3. Slippers of Fuzzy Comfort, Foot Gear with a level 1. And Foot Gear of Fastitude. You may play this card during your action phase. You may play an additional card this turn. We have some Poison Darts of Pettiness. Special with any time. Pick another player, they lose 1 fortitude. The Big Bag of Dice. It's a special cheating card. Take control of a round of gambling. The Singing and Dancing Sword. Special just gets you 2 extra levels. Flogged by a Flagon. Lose 2 fortitude. You may reduce or ignore this fortitude loss as though it came from an action card. Now these are curses. So when you draw these, you immediately, instead of getting a treasure, you immediately have to perform a curse. And this is also a throwback into the original Munchkin game. When you draw, normally it's from the monster deck. You draw one, you kick open a door, you might get a curse, not from the treasure deck. But I get they had to put these in here somewhere. But yeah, you draw a curse, bad things happen to you. Curse of Over Encumbrance. Lose fortitude equal to half your number of your treasures you have, rounded up. Include special treasures. You may reduce or ignore this fortitude as though it came from an action cost. Or card, sorry. Cuddles from a Rust Monster. Discard 1 equipped treasure if you have one. And then the last one is we have the Hungry Backpack, which is eating the Singing Dancing Sword. Discard all special treasures you have, including any you have equipped with the full Munchkin. Alright, so that was all of our treasure cards. Yes, it definitely adds some interesting little things you can do with these characters, and get some of them special abilities. Alright, so now we're going to look at the second part of this. We have our drink deck. Well, let's look at Otto. Alright, so Otto is a special AI-controlled character. So what he does is he has a counter that goes in between the 2 players. So he has a 0 to 6 fortitude and alcohol content on either side. So basically he's playing this side against player 1, this side against player 2. And then if it ever reaches, it ever crosses over like normal, he is technically like KO'd or thrown out of the bar. But he always stays in play no matter what. So it says, Otto reveals a card from his action phase. When it's his turn during a round of gambling, and whenever he is affected by a drink, action, sometimes or anytime card that affects his fortitude, alcohol content, or gold. So during his turn, he'll draw a card, and he'll do what it says. Or if it's his turn during a round of gambling, he draws a card, or if someone affects him with something. If your side of Otto's passes out, reset that track and gain 1 gold from the inn. Or draw 2 cards from your character's deck. So basically, if you target him, and you can knock him out, you gain extra gold, or you get extra cards, better assets. He just has his deck and discard pile up there at the top. On his turn, he either does an action, and then he drinks. That's all he does. What also makes him really neat is he actually has 4 separate decks. So he's going to have 1 that are warrior cards, 1, and there are 5 cards in each deck. So he has a set of deck that's 5 rogue cards, 5 cleric cards, and 5 wizard cards. So you make up his deck out of 10 cards. You pick 2 classes. So you could have many different combinations. You could do, mage cleric. You could do mage rogue, mage warrior, warrior cleric, warrior rogue, cleric rogue, cleric. You have a bunch of different combinations. There's also a second set called the Smorgas Box, which is another set of Red Dragon Inn, which adds 4 more classes for Otto. So then if you have that, you have 8 different classes, and you have a lot more combinations to play with. So what we'll do is we'll just go through what his stuff does. So if we're looking at the wizard class, and we draw his cards. So if he gets this, during his action phase. If it's his action phase, it says each other player loses a fortitude. If he draws this because someone played a sometimes card on him, he's going to drink. I'll switch the drink with the player who has the lowest alcohol content. If he draws this during a gambling phase, he passes. If he for some reason draws this and it's not one of those three things, he doesn't do anything. So it's not the equivalent of having a third player in there who can make lots of different choices. But it does at least give you a semi-automated system to work with. So he has, the second one he has, action, each other player loses 1 fortitude. Sometimes, action, sometimes, anytime. The player who played this card loses 1 fortitude. And then gambling. He says, gambling, I mean, idle takes control of the round. If he ever does something that's illegal, he passes. So, like, if he plays a gambling card and it says you can only play a cheating card, and this isn't considered cheating, it's gambling, he passes. So then he might be out of the game. So he might stay in a gambling round for a couple of turns, he might leave. And then he has action. Each other player pays 1 gold to the ing. And then no effect and pass. Action. Gambling, I'm in. He's in control of the round. Sometimes drink. Auto ignores it. So if it tells you to drink, he's going to ignore this. And then gambling, he says, I raise. Auto takes control of the round. Each player antes an additional gold. And then we have his last one for a cleric is gambling, I'm in. Action sometimes anytime, ignores a card, and gambling, winning hand, takes control around, the next card must be a cheating card. So you see all of his are those different ones. Now if you look at his, sorry, those are all wizards. I kept saying cleric, that's the wizard. This is the cleric, who has action, each other player gains 1 fortitude, pays 1 gold to the ing, drink, reduce the content, alcohol content by 1, or pass. Gambling, I'm in. Action, sometimes, anytime, ignore the card. Or gambling, I'm in. Action, player at the least fortitude gains 2 fortitude and pays the gold 1 ing. Drink, reduce the alcohol content by 1. Or gambling, he leaves the round of gambling. Action, idle gains 1 fortitude on each track. Sometimes the effects resolve, then idle gains 1 fortitude, loses 1 alcohol content on the affected track, and then pass. Action, player at the most fortitude loses 1. Sometimes, no effect, or gambling, does gambling, I'm in. Then for the rogue, he has action, each other player pays the gold 1 ing. Sometimes there's no effect, and now instead of gambling, he has a cheating. Cheats and takes control of the round. Action, player with the most gold pays 1 gold to the ing. Sometimes, player who played the card pays 1 gold to the ing, or gambling, he passes. Action, player with the most gold pays 1 gold to the ing. Sometimes he ignores the card, or cheating, he cheats and takes control of the round. Action, player with the most fortitude loses 1 fortitude. Drink, ignores it, or cheating, he cheats, takes control of the round, forces the last player to control to leave the round. And then action, gambling, I'm in. Drink, he ignores it, or pass. And then for the warrior, he has the player with the most fortitude loses 2 fortitude. Sometimes, player who played this card loses 1 fortitude. And gambling, I'm in. Action, each other player loses 1 fortitude. No effect, or leaves the round of gambling. Action, player with the most fortitude loses 1 fortitude. Sometimes the effect resolves, then idle gains 1 fortitude and loses 1 alcohol content, and then pass. Action, player with the most fortitude loses 1 fortitude. Sometimes player played the card loses 1 fortitude, and gambling, I'm in. And then his last one is action, no effect. Sometimes drink, he ignores it, and then gambling, he has pass. So yeah, not a super ton of crazy effects. It's all fairly simple. Gain fortitude, lose fortitude, pay or lose gold. Yeah, they didn't make them like super complicated. But yeah, it's a neat way to add in another character. So since he's a third player, everyone gets more gold. He always goes first. So Otto cannot win or lose the game. He simply acts as a foil to the other two players. When one of the other players is eliminated, that the other player wins. Otto doesn't care. Does not have hands or cards, so he cannot draw. Discard, has no gold. If you pay gold, he pays from the inn. If a player pays gold to Otto, it goes to the inn. He does not have a drinking pile. When he drinks from the top of the drink deck. You may not order drinks for Otto, with a special exception. This is as a 2 fortitude tracks, 40 alcohol tracks. So player 1 deals with the left side, player 2 deals with the right side. You cannot interact with the other one. If you are doing something that affects Otto, it only affects the one on your side. It says at various points you will have to reveal cards from Otto's deck. Follow the instructions in one section of the revealed card. If it runs out, shuffle his discard pile and use a new pile in the deck. This happens immediately with one important exception. If Otto runs out of cards during a round of gambling, do not reshuffle his deck. So if he runs out of cards while you're gambling, he just bows out. So he'll try and stay in as long as he can till either he passes or he plays something illegal. But if for some reason gets kicked out, he's out. Or he doesn't have cards, he'll just keep passing. And there's some other obvious little different things you can do. He always gambles the antes from gold with the inn. And then he'll do other different stuff there. And I'm not gonna reread every single little thing. If a non-Otto card gives out a choice to pay gold, discard, lose fortitude, gain alcohol content, split a drink, he chooses not to do so. For example, if he discards nothing to rough remedy, he does not split rice wine with any player. So if it gives him an option to do this or that, or it gives him an option to do something extra, he will never do the extra thing. He'll always do the simplest action he possibly can. If you're forcing to discard, nothing happens. For any other choices not covered, he always chooses the first option. So if it says lose 2 alcohol content or lose 2 gold, he's always going to choose to do the first option. And if it says to bid a number or secretly choose something, he's always going to pick 0. So again, the lowest number or lowest quantity you can do. Not supposed to use him in team variants, just because he's not part of a team. So that's interesting there. Alright, we didn't look at the drink deck yet, but we're going to look at the bar deck variant before we do that. So each deck has 30 cards. But as you start basically amassing more and more versions of this game, because each big box set also includes a 30 card deck, you're going to some of the cards are repeated, but eventually you're going to get enough cards you have more than 30 that aren't repeated. Basically what this rule says is shuffle all your cards together, make a 30 card deck. Then when that deck runs out, you pay the inn 1 gold. And normally you reshuffle the deck and start over. Then instead, grab deck number 2. And if you have 3 or 4 decks, you can keep doing that. Or you could just play deck 1, deck 2, deck 3 if you don't want to shuffle them all together. But that's definitely a different little thing you can do in case you maybe want to stack things. We don't like this thing, or we don't want to have a bunch of ales, or we want to have a bunch of variety things just to make things interesting. So something different there. Then there's also prize variant. So some of the different games, including this and some of the other ones, have special prize cards. Basically, they start in your own pile. And whenever you do a gambling, the first person that has to gamble has to pick one of the prizes, put it in the pot. And then whoever takes that pot gets that prize. Then when all the prizes are done, then you reshuffle any that are in the used bin, that have been used up or gone through in the prize bin, and then you restart over. So it's actually kind of a little neat thing. So let's take a look at that prize card quick, and then we'll look at our drinks. So here on the back, it just kind of re-explains that prize rules. And then we have the Talisman of Liquid Courage. So it says, the next time you would gain alcohol content from a drink, add this card to the prize bin. The first 3 alcohol content for that drink increase your fortitude instead of your alcohol content. Yeah, so beginning of the gambling round, this automatically goes in instead of gold. If you win the round, you get this. And it says the next time, if you own this card, the next time you gain alcohol content, you have to get rid of this. And then, if there's no more prizes, then this goes back in. So if you're only playing with this, if it's your only prize card, basically once you used it, then it goes back in to be used for the next round of gambling. Alright. Then we did have, and I forgot to show it up, we did have the deck divider for the treasure deck. Actually, it just has 2 different pictures on it. And then we have auto. We didn't show off either. Which has just a quick reminder of how his turn works. Probably explains it better than I did. So I'll leave that for a sec in case you want to read it. And then we have the drink deck. And there's a list of everything that's on this set. Alright, and there's definitely some interesting ones that are only available in this set. So it's another reason to pick this up. So again, if you're not maybe a huge fan of the Munchkins or maybe their characters, the drinks, the prize cards kind of neat, the auto characters, at least half of it's different stuff that aren't the characters that might be worth picking up. So we start with some light ale, which is less filling. And then we have the light ale with a chaser. We have a dark ale, tastes great. Dark ale with chaser. Some wine, classy. Wine with chaser, so these are all our common ones. Pixie Punch. When you need a little private pixie time, it's gotta be Pixie Punch, TM. Pixie Punch with chaser. Dragon Breath Ale. Brewed under the direct supervision of real fire-breathing dragons, TM. Ogre Brew. I hope it tastes better than it smells. Water, straight from the horse's trough. Dirty dishwater, blech. The Dwarven Firewater, it's strong enough to stunt your growth. Orcish Rotgut, orcs love this stuff. The Elven Wine, the elves drink it, so it must be good. The Elf Wine with Chaser. Wizard's Brew, you see colors, the room spins, this stuff is great. We have a pot of tea, not suitable for suitable for drunkards and teetotalers alike. We have rice wine. If rice wine was not the result of a drink event or chaser, you may split it with another player. The rice wine cannot be affected by any other cards that splits drinks after you. Then we have discount holy water, collected from the church's rain barrel. Rough Remedy. If you gain alcohol content from this drink, you may discard up to 5 cards from your hand. Gain 1 fortitude for each card discarded. You'll need more than just a spoonful of sugar. The Artisanal Spring Water. Pay 1 gold to the inn. Immediately boggled at your expense. Ale of Intrigue. Draw 2 cards from your character deck. Ooh, intriguing. So I think all of them might have been from other sets. These are a couple that are, I think, exclusive to this one. I'm not positive on that. But we have the Concoction of Confusion, or a Potion of Confusion. This is based off the Munchkin card of the same name. If you gain alcohol content from this drink, draw 2 cards from your character deck. Then you discard 4 cards from your hand. You may not take any game actions between drawing and discarding. The hangover starts before you get drunk. We have the Freezing Explosion Potion. Discard 1 card from your hand. If this card is a result of a chaser, discard all other cards in this drink without taking effect. Works on demons, dragons, and dungeon walls. The Potion of Idiotic Bravery. If you gain alcohol content from this drink, you must play an action card. If you can't, reveal your hand. Multiple players must play action cards this way, play and resolve them in turn order, in case you split it. Then we have some event cards. We have Round on the House. Reveal a drink with possible chasers from the drink deck. If you reveal a drink event, before you reveal a drink, discard it, reveal again. Each player, including you, drinks a copy of the revealed drink. 2 copies of Drinking Contest. Each player reveals a drink from the deck and drinks it. The player who reveals a drink with the highest alcohol content, even if they avoid the effects of the drink, win 1 gold from each other player. There's a tie. Players reveal drinks until there is a winner. The drink event cards are ignored and they count as 0 alcohol content. And then the last one is a new drink event based on Munchkin. The monsters tick open our door. Because in Munchkin, that's the game. You tick open a door, loot treasure, backstab your friends. So in order, each player may attack a monster. The monster is by discarding an action card that would cause a player to lose fortitude or gain alcohol content. Each player that does not discard an action card this way loses 2 fortitude. So it's actually kind of a fun little thing. That would be the last of our drink cards. Alright, so that is Red Dragon Ing Allies, Spyke and Flower based on the Munchkin games by Steve Jackson Games. Yeah, so definitely looking for some interesting new stuff, 3rd player, new cards. Or if you're just starting off and you like Munchkin, this might be a great one just to start with. There's a 2-player game, and then you can decide to pick up more characters if you enjoy it. Alright, see you guys in the next video. Bye!